Hi, so I'm here with Yorkshire-based alternative rapper Wilko Wilkes. Um, so I guess, so I guess the first question is: imagine that no one has ever heard of you. Who are you? What are you about?
It's a good question. I've been asking myself that for 34 years, but here we are. So yeah, I'm a rapper. I started late when I was about 31, and got the bug. I've always rapped and stuff like that in my own time in my bedroom by myself, along with lots of different tracks. Um, and then yeah, I decided it's something that I really wanted to do was just be an artist because I was writing stuff all the time, but I was never finishing songs. And since then, I've been doing it for about I think it's about 3.5 years now, something like that. And I've got an album out last year. Um, I've done like lots of gigs. Yeah, I'm a live rapper. I rap fast. I do it in a sort of alternative way, so it's not like classic hip hop. It's somewhere between that and pop. It's not drill. It's not trap, grime, anything like that. It's more close to classic hip hop than any other style. But yeah, my influences are like um, I grew up on like rock, classic rock, new metal, uh, 70s pop, Elvis, Buddy Holly, all sorts of different music. So I take massive influence from all over the place, and yeah, just try and do my thing. And I'm also yeah, I've started a scheme called Rap for Good. I'm also a facilitator at Andy's Man Club Leeds, which is a men's mental health talking charity. And yeah, do a lot of different bits and pieces. From a producer, I've learned all sorts, yeah. But it's hard to put it in a nutshell, but yeah, I'm always on it. So I've come a long way from the start anyway.
Yeah. So you mentioned your brand of rap is sort of more unconventional. So from listening to you, it's more kind of like spoken word poetry as opposed to say Wu-Tang Clan type rap. It's not really like anything I've personally heard. I mean, as I've put in my reviews, I'm not really a rap fan, but your brand of rap has made rap accessible to someone who doesn't like it. Is the concept that you've got something you thought up yourself, or have you taken inspiration directly from another rapper that you've heard?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, it's interesting you say that about the Wu Tang Clan because I definitely rate the Wu Tang Clan and their lyrics. I think are quite poetic. And but yeah, I think for me it's all about being authentic. Like I just write. I struggled with my mental health a lot of my life, and I write a lot about how I'm feeling, and I write as a bit of a it's like therapy for me when I sit down and write. So when I first started writing, a lot of it that came out, it was like quite depressing and stuff like that. But also I like writing poetry. Yeah, it's almost like an essay when I write a song because I like to structure my songs as well. I like to have a beginning, a middle, and an end, and I like to have it a bit of a story, and I like it to be cohesive. Um,
That's almost
and I
taking
think
influence from like folk music because a lot of folk music is storytelling.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, I like a bit of folk. I like so much different music to be honest. I think that's why it's a bit of a mishmash because uh, there's like there's a lot of pure hip hop heads and they think that it needs to be a certain style and
Well, hip
there's
hop
a
tends to be very aggressive, and your music is not aggressive. That's why I like your brand of rap because it isn't that kind of lots of swearing, lots of shouting, lots of anger. It's sort of complete other
yeah.
end of the spectrum.
Thank you. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I do have a bit of anger in there, and but yeah, I'm very much a believer that everything you put out into the world should be fairly positive. Like, don't get me wrong, behind closed doors, I'll moan and I'll gripe and I'll I'll complain with the best of us. But I always feel like there's a responsibility to kind of put out positive output in a way. So I don't like yeah, I don't relate to a lot of that music that I listen to when it's just like full of bile and misogyny and like being crass for the sake of being crass. And a lot of rappers, I feel like, especially younger rappers, they see that and they feel like that's what rap has to be. But yeah, I mean, I think it can be anything really, and I think that's one of the compliments that I get quite often is people will say like, I don't like rap music, but I really like your
Yeah,
music.
yeah.
Um, so it's nice, but the same way, I'm not like I'm not dissing the other rappers who do what they do because I think a lot of them come from um, you know, poverty and rough circumstances, and they're rapping about what's real to them.
Absolutely. It sort of
So
suits their
that's good,
situation.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, and I think that's it. I think the key is just rapping about what's real to you. But when you're like especially, I'm a 34-year-old man.
Mm.
If I was rapping about, sipping Grey Goose in a Lamborghini and stabbing people or like, I don't know, it's like,
Exactly.
well, it's just like, yeah, it's just ridiculous.
I
But
think you can tell in any genre of music when a musician's not being true, they're just putting out stuff that is going to sell. You look at a lot of the bands that started, say, for example, someone like Coldplay, who started off putting out their authentic music and then they started putting out stuff that was going to sell. And you can tell, not that I've ever been a Coldplay fan, but you can tell in the later stuff, they're just putting out what's going to shift units rather than what actually means something to them.
yeah, for sure. And I feel the same way about some of, like, I used to love Kings of Leon as well. The first two albums I thought were awesome. And then
Yeah,
it went downhill from there for me. And then like Sex on Fire and Use Somebody, and then everything past that, it was like they were just writing for arenas, and they
absolutely.
lost that sort of raw
Yeah,
quality that they had at the start.
yeah,
And I think that's part of like signing up with a record label as well. They want to make money from you, so you've got to make something that's
exactly.
more accessible for everybody's ears. Because it's quite nice being independent, and the thing is for me as well, I'm just playing around with this. Like I'm loving the fact that I can just make music now.
Yeah,
Um, so I'm just playing around with all sorts, like just doing whatever comes into my head sometimes, and just having fun with it. Like, yeah.
yeah. Cool. So you mentioned like a lot of your music tends to focus on your own mental health struggles. Does writing about something so close to home come easy, or is it a challenge to sort of open yourself up and lay yourself bare like that?
Yeah, it's a good question. And I think for me, like I said, when I started writing, I think I had a lot of pent up angst, and
Mm.
I struggled a lot with depression throughout my life, and went for a long time without ever being able to speak about that, or feeling comfortable to speak about it. But sometimes I'd have meltdowns, or um, I didn't have any coping mechanisms.
Mm.
So, or any healthy coping mechanisms anyway. I had quite a few unhealthy ones, but uh, um, so it comes easily for me to write about depression and how I'm feeling. And I think because sometimes in real life I'm quite a sort of jolly guy, I'm quite a cheery guy. I don't talk about my depression all the time and stuff like that, but I do obviously talk about it at Andy's Man Club on Monday nights. And that's helped me to open up as well and be more able to talk about my own mental health. But yeah, it was difficult. The first song that I wrote, where it was like quite depressing. And even the second and third songs that I wrote were both really depressing, sort of like songs. And it was quite hard putting them out and thinking about like what my family might think, or kind of what image people might have of me by sort of laying myself bare like that. But I think the whole point when I started this is that I got to the point where I'm not interested really anymore in what people do think of me. Like, I'd rather just be true to myself and talk about whatever's real to me. And it's, if the thing is, people can criticize as much as they like, and I'm not saying they do. I don't get a lot of criticism, but I do know there's a lot of people out there still who think that depression isn't real, or going out for a run will sort everybody out, and it must just be the person's fault or whatever. But yeah, I think if you can, yeah, the criticism's water off a duck's back. If 10 people criticize me
Yeah,
and one person actually listens to my song and goes, "Do you know what? That's helped me reframe my thinking, or that's
absolutely.
helped me," then that's well worth it. I'll take a million criticisms for one guy who's just like, "Thank you for this song," or like, it's nice to be able to help others like in the way that other guys have,
Yeah,
and women,
absolutely.
and other people have helped me
Yeah.
by talking about their own struggles.
Something else I've noticed in like a lot of your more personal songs, you tend to you'll convey something that can be quite depressive or quite kind of personal, but then you'll combat it with an element of humor. Is that how you deal with your depression in your day-to-day life?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, and I think in a way, yes, but I think to be honest, when I was like younger and when I was a teenager and um, sort of well into my 20s, I was a bit of a joker. I was a bit of a clown a lot of the time, and I'd sort of pretend that I was really like a lot happier than I was, or and it was a bit of a struggle for me because I was always putting on the mask. Now these days, I think I'm a bit more serious and I'm not as much of a joker as I used to be. But inside, I'm always making a joke of everything because I
Yeah,
feel like if you can't, nothing really offends me, and nothing really like I accepted a long time ago that like you can't you can't control anything in this world. It's a crazy world. Like you can't control how other people are going to think or but at the same time as well with my writing, I'll say this. So yeah, I do tend to try and make a joke about stuff, but with my writing, I find it's a bit boring if I just do 3 minutes on depression without
Mm.
kind of. I like to mix things up a
It's a
bit.
bit
I think that's
heavy.
what I like to do is like put in little surprises and um yeah, it's
So
more entertaining that way as well, isn't it?
yeah, absolutely. So songs like Yorkshire and Muck on the Wall, they're a lot less personal. Do you find those palate cleansers, and do people react differently to a song like that?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, I've got one mate. I'll shout him out, JP, and he's like he gives me the lowdown every time I release a single, and sometimes he really hates the songs that I make, and sometimes he loves them. And I can't remember what he thought about that one, but yeah, sometimes it's a bit divisive because I think people expect you to. People want to pen you in like all the time. People will have this like idea of what you are based on like the last thing that you did or something. So as soon as I release like a couple of rap tunes, it's like, oh, he does this style of music, and then if I release something a bit different, people are like, nah, I prefer the other stuff. Or, but it doesn't. Again, it doesn't matter to me. Like,
You're always
Muck on
going to
the
get that, aren't you?
yeah,
Always.
yeah, exactly. And Muck on the Wall for me was like a part of a bit of an experimentation period when I released Cluedo as well. I don't know if you know that one.
I've not heard that one, no.
It's a little bit off the wall, and yeah, it's not a rap. And same with Muck on the Wall, it's not a rap. But it was just me sort of like learning to produce my own tracks. Those were the first two that I released that I'd made from start to finish. Um, and I was just having a bit of fun with it. Like, yeah, and then Yorkshire, that was like, I mean, I'd say that is kind of slightly more personal, obviously, because I wanted to write a bit of an ode to the beautiful county that is Yorkshire. And I've got that's a good one to play live as well, I think, because the 135 places. That was a bit of a my influence there was a song called "I've Been Everywhere" by Johnny Cash.
Oh, okay.
Uh, yeah, I love that tune. It's like that's got like 95 places in America where he
Oh,
like
wow.
reels them. Yeah, yeah. But mine's got 135 places in Yorkshire, so I knew I was going to try and beat that number. Um, but yeah, I think every song really, I'm learning. I'm trying to do something a little bit different with every song as well.
Yeah,
I don't want to pigeonhole myself, and I
no,
don't need to really either.
no. So you do a lot of work with youngsters in your local community. How did that all come about?
Yeah, so I've started that. Yeah, it's been about a year now actually. It started with s- a- an organisation called Art Camp, who are based in Leeds area. They do like art camps, funnily enough, in the school holidays. And they just asked me, could I do like a rap class? I think, but at that point, it was kind of people started to know me a little bit around the area. I'm not saying I'm like anywhere stretch of even well known really, but in I've started to get, word gets round a little bit,
Yeah,
doesn't it? And they asked me, and I think because I was benefiting then because like you said earlier, I don't actually have a lot of swearing in my tracks, and I've got accessible tracks like "Stick Around" or "Daddy Shark," which are a little bit more friendly for kids. And there's not a lot of rappers who are suitable for kids, but there's a lot
absolutely
of rappers. But
not.
yeah, there's loads of kids who really like rap, so there was a bit of a demand for it. And then once I did that art camp one, schools started contacting me, and um, other organizations started contacting me, and now I've done quite a lot of different workshops. You just reminded me actually I need to update my workshop log. Just make a note of that. And then yeah, started a project recently. Applied for some funding through the Leap and Bradford Council and Arts Council England to get some funding for a project called Rap for Good, where I can put workshops on for free. And that's I've committed to doing 6 workshops this year. I've done one of them, and I'm making it community led. So I'm like learning from the participants themselves what they want to see, like rather than me sort of dictating what I think a good rap workshop is. I want to find out what the kids absolutely want and what
Yeah.
they need, and then try and provide that. So Yeah, it's just like I loved rapping when I was a kid, and but I never had a push with it, or like all the music education is like, tambourine and triangle, or
Absolutely. Yeah.
trumpet, or like those keyboards that go DJ, DJ.
Any music at school. I think it was like recorders and tambourines and triangles and which is
Yeah,
really
yeah,
almost it was more almost pointless going to music because we didn't learn a thing. Unless you
yeah,
actually had a talent,
yeah.
you didn't learn anything.
Exactly. Yeah, and I used to play piano when I was a kid. My dad is a grade 8 organist, and like he played piano and he played keyboards in like prog rock bands and stuff, and so he like, yeah, I played piano and at a decent level. I got to like grade 3 in music theory and stuff like that. That stood me in good stead in when I picked it back up as an adult. But I gave up on music when I was like 10, 11, 12, something like that. And in music class, yeah, I just didn't feel like I was ever learning anything. Like, or sometimes it'd just be like, right, you can play keyboard. You just sit over there with the keyboard. Then I never. I don't know. I liked choir though. We used to do choir classes, and we did like the Beatles and ABBA medleys, and Joseph and his amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat and stuff like that. That was class. I always enjoyed singing.
Yeah. So you're heavily involved with Andy's Man Club. Can you tell us a bit more about the charity and what the work is that they do?
Yeah, it's a brilliant charity. Yeah, it was started, I think it's 6 or 7 years ago, by Elaine Roberts, who's and Luke Ambler as well. Elaine Roberts' son, Andy Roberts, unfortunately took his own life, and they started a club in Halifax where Luke just said, put the word out, it's okay to talk, see if we can get some guys to come round and just talk about how they're feeling. And then from that, it sort of snowballed, and then the second group was made, and then now there's like over 100 groups in the country, and there's online groups as well every Monday. So anyone.
Based now then.
No, yeah, no, it's all over. Yeah, they're trying to get it sort of like cover the whole United Kingdom. They're getting there, to be honest. They're getting there. And yeah, like I say, there's online groups as well if anyone isn't close to a club. But it's really good. Yeah, 7 p.m. till 9 p.m. every Monday, and yeah, we've got like set questions. We all answer the same questions as each other, going around in a circle. You got a ball that we pass around. I started going about 3 years ago, and it was really good for my mental health, being able to open up and being able to see other guys talking in a way that I didn't really think guys would talk.
Yeah.
And there's no phones, and there's no judgment. You can say anything you like, anything you're thinking, and all you'll get is like support. So it's a nice environment, yeah. And then I was doing that for about 6 months before I got asked to join the facilitator team, and I've been doing that for about 2.5 years now. And yeah, it's a staple of my Monday night. Every Monday, I leave feeling a bit better, and I
Yeah.
get some weight off my chest, and it helps me deal with the rest of my week. And
Stigma around men talking about this kind of stuff as there was. I think growing up, men were supposed to be big and strong and didn't talk about the feelings, didn't have feelings. If they were struggling, they just step up and lip and got on with it. I think there's
mm,
a lot less of that now. I think it's okay to actually, I know everyone says it's okay not to be okay, but I think it truly is. If you're not okay, I don't think there is the judgment from people. If you say, I don't feel great, I need some help, I think it's a lot more accepted.
yeah, I agree with you. But I still think we've got a long way to go, to be honest. Like, I think, uh, I think with the way the world's gone, like my social media and stuff, it's a bit of a echo chamber. Like, I'll always see people posting like, it's okay to talk and mental health awareness and this, that, and the other. It's like we've got that awareness now. But then every now and then you'll see a post on Facebook um or Twitter, usually the two protagonists, where there's loads and loads of comments of people just like disparaging about it, or like I seen that there's a guy the other day was doing a kayaking the canal for like 40 miles for Andy's Man Club, and talking about his depression on this article, and somebody had commented like, oh yeah, so depressed that he sold his story to the papers. And I was like, this guy's not making any money out of like having
No.
an interview with kids live. It's like, yeah, I think there's still a lot of like, there's a lot of awareness out there, but there's also a lot of cynicism still there.
The problem
And
with
it's
the internet is
yeah,
everyone's brave behind the keyboard.
yeah, exactly. In real life, you never hear people complaining about it, but
Exactly.
as soon as you see something on Facebook, yeah, everyone comes out. It's the same with like you know, like all this transgender row and stuff like
Mm,
that. Like I've seen Eddie Izzard's changed his name this
yeah.
morning, and I saw a post on that, and there were like thousands of comments like, "Don't you mean he has changed his name?" It's like, what are you gonna achieve by doing this? Like,
They're not. That's the thing. I just don't think respect isn't hard, even if you don't understand it. If you don't understand using them, they pronouns, fair enough. But it doesn't, if that's what a person wants to do, it's nothing to just respect that that's what they want to use. It's not going to
yeah,
hurt to
it's
respect
just
them.
like, yeah, I don't, and it's no good for them. I think it's all born out of insecurity, as far as I'm concerned. Like anyone throwing nasty comments out there, it's
Exactly.
it's not good for your own soul,
No,
and
it's not. I don't
that,
understand. I can't get my head around it. And the thing is, with things like that, you've got Andy's Man Club building people up, and then something on the internet knocking them back down. It just kind of is it's counterproductive.
yeah, exactly, and yeah, I think that's why it's important, and yeah, it's a good place to be. You
Yeah,
see a lot of humanity at Andy's Man Club. You hear a lot of crazy stories, and you hear, you know, it's quite intense at times, and you see a lot of different sides of life, and it makes you reflect a lot.
yeah.
So yeah, it's helped me a lot really, and
Is it
it's
a mix
helped
of ages?
my own mind. Sorry, say that again.
Is it a mix of ages?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, yeah. You get you. So only men aged 18 or over can come. Um, but yeah, you've got everyone from age 18 to. I've seen a guy in his 90s come before. Uh, I'd say it's mostly aged sort of between 25 and sort of 60,
Yeah,
65. I don't know. Yeah, you do get pretty much everyone there. Um, so
it's
yeah,
very
it's quite interesting,
inclusive.
really.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, it's nice. It's a nice like community, and you've got like tea and coffee there as well, and biscuits, and yeah, you get like you know, you get people who are like alcoholics going through rehab, and then you get like people who are successful lawyers and actors, and
wow.
you know, all sorts. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, cool.
it's
So, what would you say, going back to your career, what would you say so far have been your highlights, like biggest shows you've done, biggest performances, things you're most proud of?
Uh, yeah, I've done a few good shows. Like, I'm still really delighted with just the first show that I did, which was like, it was a busking festival in Bradford, and I just did like a 20-minute set of busking. I got paid for it, and that was like a moment where I was like, wow, this is like such a big landmark of my life. Like, all I wanted to do at the start was just do a gig, just do one gig. So after that, I was so buzzing. I was like, if this was the end, then I've done it. Like I'm happy. And then the goalpost moved, and then that became like the album. I was like, wow, you know, if I could release an album, and then I
Yeah,
did that, and I performed a show at the Underground in Bradford where sort of about 80 to 100 people turned up, something like that, and I performed the album from start to finish, and we got cake in, and we had a really good day, and got a support artist called Lens who was brilliant, and it was just an awesome, yeah, just an awesome day, and then setting up Rap for Good is probably a highlight, but it's very hard work at the moment. It's
I can imagine.
taking up a lot of time. I think I'll probably enjoy it a little bit further down the line. Like I was buzzing to secure the funding, but then it's like, wow, the hard work starts now.
Yeah.
Uh, uh,
So
but
basically,
yeah, I've had loads of highlights, and I've got another couple of good gigs coming up as well. Like I think they'll be really good gigs. One of them's in Menston, which is the village where I grew up. I played a set at the Jubilee weekend. They got a big stage out, and I played a set there, and I was down on the bill as rapper, and then in brackets it said Don says 20 minutes, and they were all like, I think they were all cynical. They were just like, a rapper, yeah, we don't want him. But then I went on the stage, and I thought I played a really good set, and like all the residents loved it, and then so they've invited me back this time, and I've got like a prime spot at 5 p.m. on the Saturday, and loads of people are going to be invited down, and it should be a really good gig. And then in June I'm supporting Arrested Development in at the Underground where I had my album launch. So again, that's going to be epic as well. That'll be a great opportunity.
do you play with a live band or?
No, just myself and a backing track.
Okay.
I wouldn't mind playing with a live band at some point, but it's hard to. I think it's just hard to coordinate. Like it can be a bit of a lonely thing at the moment
Yeah.
because I do most of the stuff myself. Like I make my own videos and do my own production, and but at the same time, I'm quite particular about how I want things,
Yeah,
and I know that if I, at least in this way, I'm in control of the whole process, and I don't have to rely on somebody else who might bail at the last minute or do something wrong that I can't sort of
yeah,
hold my tongue on. Or
exactly. I suppose in some ways it is easier just sort of depending on yourself. So
yeah, exactly. And I think like I try and use it to help me get gigs as well, because I'll say to the people like, if you want a support act, you'll be able to literally like set up all your drum kit, your guitars, everything. I can just come in. Literally, all I need is a mic.
yeah,
I'll play the backing track. I'll send the backing track to the sound engineer in advance. So literally, all I need is a mic, and yeah, it means I can travel light. I see other
yeah,
bands like lugging all the gear and
yeah,
taking like hours
definitely,
over it.
definitely.
Yeah,
So when you
I'm
do
always in
play,
favor of like doing things in the easiest way possible.
so when you do play gigs, do you tend to go on lineups with similar artists, or have you been on lineups with like a mixture of different kinds of styles?
I've been on quite a mix of yeah, I've tended to play with like indie bands and rock bands, to be honest. I think what it is like, there's a bit of a hip hop community, and I don't really think I fit in that well there. I think they're a bit cool for me, and then I come out playing Baby Shark. I think they're a bit like
Yeah.
uh but yeah, it's so yeah, I tend to be on with like rock and indie bands, and but I'm quite, because I'm quite accessible
Bits,
and eclectic myself as well. Yeah, I'll fit into different lineups,
yeah.
and I don't really mind like what the I'd like to say a lot of, like what I grew up. The first thing that got me into rap really was like new metal and
Mm,
like Limp Bizkit and Kid Rock and Linkin Park and
yeah.
like that sort of aggressive like new metal. Like I loved all that era. System of a Down, Korn, Slipknot. Like these bands were like what I grew up listening to, and so I take a bit of that sort of rock. I steal a bit of like James Hetfield vocal techniques, and um I like, yeah, I think I've got a bit of a sort of rockier style than classic rap, so it fits quite nicely sometimes.
Yeah. Have you got any plans to gig outside of Yorkshire? Have you gigged outside of Yorkshire, or have you just kind of stuck local?
I actually haven't gigged outside of Yorkshire yet.
Wow.
I've gigged everywhere in Yorkshire pretty much now. Seems to have yeah, I've gigged a lot of places in Yorkshire, but I don't know, because I was really focusing on gigs last year.
Mm.
It's tough for me. Like I feel there's a bit of an up and down, like there's a bit of a build up to the gig, and then it's quite anxiety ridden like
Yeah,
before the gig, and and I've got to put in some practice and stuff like that, and then I get to the gig, I do it, it's a massive adrenaline rush, it takes ages to come down, and then I might get a bit like depressed for a few days, or I don't know, it's hard.
yeah.
So I've stopped saying yes to every gig now, and
Mm,
I'm just taking on gigs that I think will be good, or because I get more offers now, I don't have to chase as many gigs.
yeah,
Um, but I would never have dreamed of saying no to a gig like last year, but now I'm a bit like, if it's not right, or if they're not paying me, or if it's like too far away, or if they're expecting too much from me,
yeah,
I'm just like, I don't need to do this. Like, I'd go to, let's say, I know, if someone in Scunthorpe says, "Will you come and do a gig?" and they want to pay me £200, then I'll go to Scunthorpe. But
mm,
if they say, "Do you want to come and like be on a free charity night gig?" or depends on the charity, but
yeah,
if they say you want to come and play for £40 or for free, I'd be a bit like, not really.
yeah.
Depends on the opportunity, doesn't it? But yeah, I'd love to play outside. Eventually, I'd love to do festivals and stuff like that as well. But
You don't fancy
I think
UK
at the
tour
moment,
then?
what's that?
You don't fancy going out on like a 2 week UK tour or something like that?
But yeah, that would be awesome. To be fair, I'd love it, but I don't think I'm quite ready for that yet.
No.
I still feel like it's early days for me, and I'm still kind of feeling it all out as well. But yeah, eventually, and I've got a full-time job as well, so that kind of like
Makes it
gets
harder.
it well.
Yeah,
Yeah, and a lot of the bands I know as well that it costs money to do touring. Like if I was in a record label and they want to put on a bus for
yeah,
me, and
absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely got to be there. But if I'm
Funding
having to
itself costs a
drive like
fortune.
through the
Yeah.
night to Brighton and then back, yeah, it's tough. Um,
Cool. My last question is, you mentioned it a minute ago, you're supporting Arrested Development later in the year. How did that come about? That's quite a big support slot.
Yeah, I'm buzzing for it. Yeah, it should be good. It came about because I did my album launch at the Underground, so I got to know Gail and Chris who are there, and they just offered me the gig. They just messaged me and said Arrested Development are playing, and I've put you forward as a support act if you want to be.
Yeah,
Because I think it'll fit in nicely. Like they're conscious hip hop, and they're not
yeah,
quite like they are a bit alternative. They're not like
absolutely.
you. Yeah, so it'll be a nice fit, and hopefully the crowd will appreciate my style of music as well. And yeah, I'm gonna give it my all. I'm gonna do some good practicing.
Yeah,
I've got a new song that I think I'll be playing in both of those gigs at Menston and Arrested Development. It's gonna be my longest song to date. It's 5.5 minutes long. It's got
wow.
three. Yeah, yeah, it's epic. I'll send you it for a review because
Yeah.
it's really good. I've actually put on I put a preview of it on Instagram. It's like to the Tune of Life by Desiree.
Mhm.
Um, it's like three 32 bar verses, so it's like 3 minute long verses ish.
Oh wow.
Yeah, yeah, it's gonna be it's good. Like I've just finished mixing, mastering, done all the testing. It's sounding good, but I've just got a lack of time at the moment as well. Like it's hard. I'm trying to think when I should release it, but I've got a load of workshops to arrange for Rap for Good, and I've got this, that, and the other going on.
Because all the promo takes a lot as well, doesn't it? I suppose it's just one big
Yeah,
work.
yeah. I don't enjoy that part of it, but on that note, though, like it's so good for independent artists to have people like yourself and
Yeah,
Click Roll Boom, like
yeah,
giving an opportunity to smaller artists to be reviewed and have something that they
absolutely.
can
I mean,
put on their website, and yeah, it's amazing.
the small bands, the local bands. I do a lot of work with like the Norwich bands because obviously I can go and see them quite easily and stuff. But to me, that's often where the talent is. The talent is often with the small, raw kind of bands that are doing it for free, bands that are funding it themselves. They're doing it because they love it and they're putting their all into it. They're not cancelling shows because they've got a sore toe or something. They're just coming out whatever they're feeling like and they're just getting on with it and they're giving it everything. I'm really, really passionate about the small
Yeah,
bands.
exactly.
Absolutely.
They need people to come out and see them as well. They need that support.
Absolutely.
Like, just one or two people just cheering them on, like
Yeah.
really makes a difference. And um, yeah, yeah, it's
It
awesome. Like,
reminds me of
so
the
thank
small
you for
gigs.
that.
When you go and watch a small gig and band are playing and everyone's standing so far back. I just imagine that must be so disheartening when people aren't engaging with you when they're standing.
It's difficult. Yeah, you wanna see people enjoying themselves. Like
Absolutely. Yeah.
even if they'll just stood there like with a straight face. Like even and then after the gig, they'll be like, "Oh, that was amazing. I loved that." It's like,
If you don't want that after, you want that while you're playing.
yeah, yeah. I want them to be like, smile and
Yeah,
nod your head or
absolutely.
something. Like, yeah, give me a
Absolutely.
cue. Like, show me they're enjoying it.
Yeah,
But it's the British
definitely.
Army, so it's like we've got to hide our emotions all the time. But
Yeah.
um, yeah, no, it's to be fair, I'd much rather someone came along and went quiet rather than didn't come along at all.
Well,
Uh,
exactly. But yeah.
but yeah, it's a mental battle actually when you are on stage. Like you've got to try and put the audience at ease while you're shitting yourself, and you know, it can be yeah, it can be a mental minefield sometimes. With me, I'm so inside my own head as well. I'm constantly over analyzing everything, and
Oh,
uh,
yeah. I can imagine it's hard when you're on stage. I can imagine you kind of looking out to the people and thinking, what's that person thinking, what they do, and why they go at the bar while I'm playing this,
yeah, yeah.
and all
While I'm trying
kinds
to
of
rap
things.
like 3 or 4 words a second, and like completely forget what I'm doing. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a lot. Yeah, it's a lot, but it's
Yeah.
great. Yeah, it's given me some amazing opportunities, and I'm just glad that I started because it's something I always dreamed of doing, and I didn't know where it would go. I didn't know if I would be a singer or in a band or whatever. I didn't think I would be a rapper, but here we are, and yeah, it's been amazing. And thanks for having me on.
That's all right. I'm gonna have to wind up. Got a minute left, or less than a minute left. It's been lovely
I can
talking
see.
to you.
I can
Thank you.
see.
Thank you for talking to us.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. Nice to meet you. Yeah, keep fighting the good fight. I appreciate you.
Thank you. Bye.
See you again sometime.
Bye.